Hello, I'm Suresh Aladan.
And I'm Paramjit.
We're from the Korak Weight Loss Team. Today we're going to talk about nutrition tips to lose belly fat.
Yeah, so let's run through some very quick tips on what you could use that will help you to lose belly fat.
Okay.
I guess the first one I want to touch on is refined carbs.
Okay.
This is the biggest evil of the modern world, I guess. Yeah. So refined carbs actually cause metabolic syndrome.
Okay, first of all, when you talk about refined carbs, can you maybe define it a bit more compared to other types of carbs?
I guess refined carbs is anything that's processed. Any carbs that are processed. Take for example white flour, white bread, and anything that has changed its form as compared to what the natural form is.
Okay.
Take an example of a complex carb. Potato.
Okay.
Potato in its original form is a complex carb. Take grains, whole grains. Whole grains in its natural form are complex carbs. But when you process the grains, you remove the fiber and things like that, and it becomes a refined carb.
Okay.
Without the fiber, this causes major havoc in the process.
Basically, it absorbs faster into the system.
Yes.
And the body cannot handle such quick absorption.
The body cannot handle the influx of sugar.
Right.
So this has to be avoided.
Okay.
And then of course another point I would like to bring up is sugar.
Which is also another form of refined carbs.
Another form of refined carbs.
Yeah.
But now we live in an age where a lot of our food contains sugar and you may not even know about it. Sauces.
Right.
You have it in your drinks.
Especially carbonated drinks.
Carbonated drinks.
Yes, a lot of sugar in there.
And people tend to think of sugar only in terms of teaspoons, but actually there's sugar in a lot of food that they eat.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So sugar has got to be avoided.
Okay.
And then another evil of the modern world is the trans fats. Yeah.
Okay. So how do you define trans fats here?
Trans fats are basically hydrogenated fats. So they have been altered by a process of hydrogenation. It's a chemical process. Now when you do that to a fat, it actually makes the fat it gives the fat longer shelf life. That I guess is one of the main purposes why.
So it's a commercially driven process.
Yeah.
Okay.
So with that in mind, any food that has hydrogenated fat probably could last longer than something which has natural fats.
But that's not healthy for the body.
It's not healthy.
Right.
Because the body gets confused when you consume trans fats.
Right.
And it creates havoc in the metabolic system.
Okay. Okay. So you want to avoid trans fat.
You should avoid trans fats.
Okay, fine.
And then there are some places in the world, like for instance, certain cities in the US which actually have zero trans fats.
I think New York is one of the cities.
New York is one of them.
Right.
And I guess the drive is because there is a greater sense of awareness. People are aware of the effects of trans fats.
Right.
Apart from health effects, it also affects weight loss.
Right. Right.
Another point I would like to bring up is liquid calories.
Okay.
Yeah.
A lot of them do that as a replacement for, or when you're on a diet or something like that, right?
Yeah, I guess that's one of them. But what I would like to point out is liquid calories in the sense of lattes and basically. If it's a drink and it contains calories, it's a liquid calorie.
Okay.
And when you consume a liquid calorie, your body processes it very fast.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it gets ingested fast, it gets digested fast, and that influx of energy, it's difficult for your body to handle.
Right.
Because when you eat food, your body's got to digest the food, so the energy is released slowly.
Okay.
Yeah? When you take a liquid calorie, it's ingested fast.
Okay.
So when you have a quick ingestion of energy, it's very unlikely that your body can use all the energy.
So it stores
the excess is stored.
Okay.
Another point is, I guess, excessive saturated fat. Of course, saturated fat really has minimum benefit nutritionally.
Okay.
Yeah. So you want to take it as little as possible, and too much of saturated fat will just end up as fat in your belly and in your thighs.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Another point, I guess, is milk.
Milk?
Yeah, milk.
Okay, that's strange.
Yeah.
Why is milk causing belly fat? Or
milk is another form of carbohydrate, and a lot of people don't realize it, but milk does spike your insulin.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the spiking of insulin is what causes a lot of problems.
Yeah. So while there are nutritional benefits from milk, it's got all this nutritional content, it's got calcium, it's always touted for its calcium content, but it also has this effect on boosting your insulin levels. So that does have an effect on your ability to lose belly fat.
Right. So what do you think? You should say that even if they take in moderation or very minimum?
Yes, take in moderation.
Okay.
And best thing is take minimum.
Okay.
You know, I was surprised to find out that, you know, Jack LaLanne, he doesn't take any dairy at all.
Oh really?
He doesn't take any dairy at all.
Okay, so he gets his calcium from the food that he eats.
From the food that he eats and supplements.
Okay.
So if someone like Jack LaLanne at 95 is
Can still look good. Yeah, without milk.
Yeah.
I guess it works.
So it speaks for milk, huh?
Yeah. Okay.
Another point to mention is alcohol.
Of course, that's pretty obvious, huh?
Yeah. So you know what alcohol does to the body? It stops the fat burning.
Yes.
So why would you want to consume something that completely stops the fat burning?
Right.
Does that make sense?
Right. Right. Makes sense.
And then another point to note is skipping breakfast. Research has shown that people who skip breakfast have a tendency to store abdominal fat.
Right.
And it goes back to the same point of, you know, when you skip breakfast, you activate your body's starvation response.
Right. Because the stomach has been empty for too long.
Exactly.
Right.
So you don't want to do that.
Right.
So people who eat breakfast have a lower tendency to store abdominal fat.
Right, because it wraps up your metabolism when you eat breakfast.
Exactly, it sort of goes against logical thinking, because you would think that if I reduce my food intake or if I skip a meal, I would lose weight.
But the body doesn't know you're skipping a meal, it thinks you're starving.
Exactly.
And therefore it adjusts for the starvation to keep you alive longer. And therefore after that when you eat, when the metabolism slows down, then it comes as, it stores the food because it thinks it's in starvation mode.
Exactly. Another point to note is, when you eat something, it's best to eat it in its whole form.
Right.
So eating food in its whole form. Think for instance.
More natural. The more natural the food is, the better the body can handle it.
Exactly. One example I would like to use is eating an apple.
Yes.
It's better than drinking apple juice.
Of course.
Yeah.
Because once you remove the fiber, the body absorbs it too fast and it spikes up your insulin and causes all kind of hormonal problems.
Yeah, exactly. One more quick point is fruit juices. Fruit juices is something that should be avoided.
Right.
See, why would you want to drink a fruit juice when you can eat the fruit?
Right.
Because the fruit has a lot more fiber and you need that fiber. Okay, fruit juice may have its
nutrition content.
Yes.
Yes.
But it doesn't jive with weight loss or losing belly fat.
Right.
If you want to lose belly fat, you got to stay off the fruit juices.
Right.
Eat the whole fruit instead.
Right. Then you get the nutrition as well as it doesn't upset your body's metabolism.
Exactly. I mean, did cavemen take fruit juice?
Obviously not. You know.
Right. So I guess the gist of it is that it all comes down to the fundamental equation, the calories in versus calories out. This is the basic fundamental equation. So if you take more calories in than what you burn, you're going to gain weight.
Right.
So people got to be aware of this.
Right. But you see, there are things that you do that increases the speed of calorie in.
Yes.
And there are things that you do that slows down the calorie out.
Exactly.
Like inducing starvation response, for instance.
Right.
So as long as you know how to do things that reduces the calorie in or rapid calorie in, and do things that increases your calorie out,
yes,
then you're correcting the balance.
Yeah.
Properly.
So take for example that if I have my metabolism at this rate, right? So if I take liquid calories, now all of a sudden I'm going to have
a surge of energy.
Right. So this differential, the body doesn't need.
Yes. So
it's going to get stored as fat.
Yes.
And say I have my metabolism at this rate, and then I consume alcohol.
Right.
So again, whatever food I eat is going to be surplus.
Right.
Because the fat burning has been reduced.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So there's a lot of surplus energy here. Again, this surplus gets stored as fat.
Right.
So it still comes back to the basic fundamental equation of calories in and calories out.
It's how we increase the calories out and keep the calories in as slow as possible.
So when we give these final points like stop taking refined carbs, stop taking sugar and all that stuff, at the end of the day,
it boils down to this equation.
Yes, they affect the calorie equation.
Okay, fantastic.
So that's some quick points on nutrition tips to lose belly fat. So from the Correct Weight Loss team,
this time,
do it right.